If you're a Marine, you are a Marine for life. It is who you are, it is what you do, it's how you go about approaching things. And we've got a Marine on the phone right now, but he is also a mental health expert. Joining us on the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh Newsline is Eric Rittmeyer, and he is here right now to talk about how can we find peace and unity in what is a deeply divided time in our country. Eric, it is great to have you on KDKA. Thanks for being our guest today.
Rick, you're the man. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Joining us in the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh Newsline is Mr. Rittmeyer. Where's home for you, Eric? Where are you right now?
Baltimore, Maryland. We're getting ready to get pummeled by some snow, just like you guys, I think.
I think it was too cold to snow. I don't think that it's allowed to snow when it was as cold as what we had earlier today. But no, it's crazy how winter just keeps on hanging on. And that's, I think, one of those things that unites us, right? All of us, we're now looking at what's happening in Texas and saying, yeah, that's our world. We've lived that for a long time. But you also feel for them because it's a horrible, horrible situation. What are the things that divide us? Can you put your finger on that before we figure out about how to unite? What is there one thing? Are there two things? Are there 10 things? Are there 50 things? What divide us right now?
I think the main thing, Rick, is as a nation, we're just incapable of logical thought processes. We are what I refer to as intoxicated in emotion. So logic and emotion are inversely related. As we become more emotional, we become less logical and vice versa. Our nation right now is at a point where we are just overwhelmed and insanely intoxicated in emotion to the point where what we're feeling in our hearts is superseding what we see with our eyes. So all we know is we have these warm, fuzzy feelings in our heart, and a lot of times they're not even warm and fuzzy. A lot of times they're just things that make us angry or things that upset us. So then we automatically assume that the worst intentions in people just because we disagree. So the minute somebody produces a conflicting point of view with the belief system of ours, we automatically default to these defense mechanisms, start getting angry and yelling and screaming. So we have to back off the emotion. I think our country is intoxicated in emotion. That's the number one problem right now.
I introduced you as a Marine, and one of the points that you make is that in Marines you do daily formations. That's where you get together, and that's where you literally come together. Those formations would happen first thing in the morning, right? You do them, what, after chow, before chow? Was it both?
You name it. We had a formation. Didn't matter. Sun shining, formation. Sun's going down, formation. Food time, formation. We had them all the time.
Why? What was the reason for that in the Corps? Why did you do those things?
Well, you know what's funny now, Rick, to look back on the things I did in the court. I've been out for so long now. I'm like an old man. I've been out for so long now, but it's funny because every single thing that we did had meaning to it. The formations, it was for accountability. It was to make certain everybody was there, obviously. But everything in the Marine Corps and everything in the military in general is all about cohesiveness. It's all about that core common fabric, that cultural fabric that we have. That's what's so awesome about military. Any branch, doesn't matter. We all bleed green, right? I'm a little biased to the Corps. You can take the Marine out of the Corps. Can't take the Corps out of the Marine. I'm a little biased to my Corps, but anybody who wears a uniform gets every ounce of my respect. You know what you get with a veteran. You get commitment, integrity, accountability, loyalty, the service before self mentality. Every single thing we do in the military is all geared behind and all stands behind the fact that we raise the right hand. We all have that same flag on our uniform. Our nation is missing that core common fabric that brings everything. You mentioned about the weather, bringing everybody together. There are so few things now that every single person in this nation can unite around. Our veterans don't have that problem. We all were there for the same exact cause.
So then how do we get everybody pulling on the rope in the same direction? How do we get it to the point that everybody does say, yeah, we agree on that?
Well, you know, it's like the piece I wrote. I think you read part of my op-ed I wrote there, Rick. I labeled it as collective punishment for isolated guilt, and we're culprits of this. As a country, we're culprits of this, and unfortunately everything goes back to our political affiliation. But my concept behind that is what we do is we take these 1%ers on both sides, let's call it left and right, whatever. We take these 1% of people who do something crazy, and then the opposing side assigns collective punishment to the whole group. So with that 1%'s the one, it's like when you have the grandkids over, right? You feed them sugar and you send them back home to their parents. They're bouncing off the walls. So these 1%ers are committing all the problems. And then the opposing side is automatically assigning collective punishment. So then the other side says, well, I'm going to defend myself now. So I call it a game of political ping pong, where we're constantly searching for these exceptions and blowing them up and making them appear to be the rule.
I said something about the core of being a Marine is that you're always a Marine. Can we change ourselves, or are there things that we're always going to be? Does that make sense?
It does. And I think what it all boils down to here, Rick, I mean, I think the main thing is that as a nation, what we have to start doing is taking a step back and realizing that we're all the same. We're just different variations of the same core psychological blueprints, but we're all the same people. We all want kindness, compassion, empathy. We want to raise our kids in safe schools, have wonderful neighborhoods. We have to start grasping the fact that just because we have opposing points of view doesn't mean that we can't agree on other things. I mean, this is getting kind of, we're getting blue in the face saying this stuff, but we have to let go, and we have to be able to suspend our disbeliefs. I'm big on this. We as a nation have gotten to the point where we have our point of view, we have our stance, and then we are just mentally incapable of even hearing an opposing point of view to the point where we don't even listen with the intent to understand anymore. We're just listening with the intent to reply. Can that change in our nation? I 100% believe it can, but it requires every single one of us looking internally and realizing that there's no reason for us to be outraged. Nobody hates anybody.
So you're saying if we're only listening to reply, we're not really listening to what the other person has to say.
We can. This is human nature, Rick, because think about this. I mean, a lot of people are guilty of it. A lot of people aren't even aware they do this, but think about this. We're listening to another person just long enough. We're hearing them and dissecting their words just long enough to formulate our reply. Once we have our reply in our mind, nothing else said after that means anything. It's like Charlie Brown talk. It's like, won't. Once we have, because again, we're such a self-centered society, you say what you want to say. I listen long enough. I formulate the reply. Anything after that, I don't hear. I wait for a minor break. A lot of times, I don't even wait for a break and you're talking. I just come right back at you. We're horrible, horrible listeners.
You're just trying to formulate your zinger or your comeback for whatever it was that the other person said, right?
It's the confirmation bias, right? I mean, everything right now is all about this outrage culture, and I put a lot of this on the media as well. I hate to keep going back to that, but the media is a very big part of this. They're instilling this fabricated anger, this fabricated hate. Why? Why are they doing that? Because they want to stop unity. Why do they want to stop, and why do they want to try to prevent unity? Because without unity, there can be no clarity. So if they can stop that clarity, they stop the unity. The problem is, as a nation, it's like we're not capable of making our own decisions anymore. We watch whatever we want to watch. We have our confirmation bias. We feel first, think later. So we automatically already have that feeling in our heart. And then we go out there searching for information to support what we feel. If it doesn't agree with our belief system, we don't listen to it. We shut it down. That's a problem.
Yeah, crazy, crazy stuff. Eric, it sounds like you spent a lot of time thinking about these things. How did you get to this point? How did you transfer from your time in the Corps to then doing this and sort of being a mental health and a toughness expert? How did you get to these conclusions?
You know what it was, Rick? It was just training, hiring, firing, coaching, speaking to these groups of people and looking for common denominators. I'm one of these people who I look for common threads. I look for things that are similar in whatever it is. And when it came to people, the one thing I noticed about the most successful people, the ones who had the best relationships, they all had something in common. They were all very likable. It's why I wrote a book about this. It's the simplest things, but just to be more likable. So for me personally, it was firsthand experience with just analyzing people and really getting to learn them and understand them and figure out what makes them tick. It ends up we're all the same exact way. And if we reciprocate what people do to us, but as a nation, if we can't get off of this fabricated, I hate your guts, we're going to sit here and spin our wheels. It's like sit in the garage in your car and inhale on your own exhaust.
That's not a very positive thought, is it?
It's not.
No, but at the same time, I think you make some great points. Man, this is a lot of stuff to take in, but Eric, I sure appreciate you making time for us, and I look forward to having you back on again soon. Can you come back again? I'd love to, Rick. Thank you for the invite. I really do appreciate it. It was great talking with you. Great stuff from Eric Rittmeyer, mental health expert, teaches mental toughness. Boy, he's taught us an awful lot here in a short period of time.